Welcome to the Balance Code podcast, a place where you have permission to step outside the hamster wheel of day-to-day life and learn tools for better balance. My name is Katie Russler. I'm a licensed therapist and hidden grief and burnout specialist. I help ambitious high achievers who are ready to get off the one-way train to burnout and learn better tools to embrace life. Oh, and by the way, I'm an American living in Germany who's still learning the language, a mom of 3, and an entrepreneur. Living my balance code is what helps me keep working in incredible ways without burning out. So let's discover our balance code together. Welcome back to the podcast. Today I have Don Gleason, and we're going to be discussing the 3 secrets to having better self-discipline. Now, dear listener, you know that you and I are
Mm,
similar in some ways, and self-discipline at different times in our life, we've been on point. But there's something lately that's getting you off of that fast track to moving forward by being self-disciplined. And Don's going to give us some tips and some secrets to how we can get back on that focused train. Okay, Don, thank you so much for being here. Please share with us a little bit about yourself, where you are, who you serve, and what it is
mhm.
you do.
No, I appreciate that, and, thank you, for the opportunity to be here. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be with you, and it's fun just talking about Germany. We spent 7 years in Germany and in the Bitburg and Kaiserslautern area. Just love the country, so I'm envious. That's great that you're living over that way. So, I'm the guy who joined the Air Force because he couldn't get another job in 1982 coming out of college. I had 454 rejection letters from companies during the recession of 1982. And I joined the Air Force because I didn't want to go back to college, and I did very well, though I almost got kicked out of the OTS on the 2nd or 3rd day because of weight. We might talk about that. Discipline, right? But just did very well, progressed to the rank of colonel, got out after 27 years in 2009, went 9 years corporate, and now I'm a coach certified with the Maxwell Leadership Team, an executive director with that team, which means just a 3rd level to be able to get another level of resources to work with companies and C-suite leaders. So now I'm working as I coach people, coaching that mid-level to senior level leader in companies and in small businesses, helping them grow. And particularly right now, working on career transition. So many people are in jobs that they're really not excited about, either because they're forcing them back to work, back to the office, and they want to do remote or hybrid, or the job just no longer energizes them. Or, as Maxwell says, John Maxwell says, everyone deserves to be led well, and there is a lack of leadership in companies. He calls himself leadership sad. There's just people think they're good leaders, but they're not. And I know I studied leadership for 27 years in the military, and I thought I was a pretty good leader. People told me I was a pretty good leader. But when I picked up John's book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, OMG, I just advanced my understanding, you know,
Mhm.
10x. Not to steal Grant Cardone's piece 10x, but it probably was, it just far advanced me along. So that's who I am.
Excellent. And it's funny how even when we get that validation from others around us of our skill sets, there's still
Mhm.
so much to learn and to
Mhm.
grow. Now, when we talk about self-discipline, as I shared, a lot of the people in my community and even myself, there are times in our lives where we are on it when it comes to self-discipline. I have had clients who were triathletes who have done amazing things in the world and like reached and spoken on stages and done all this stuff. And then they hit a point, and I'm going to be honest, I think it's just overwhelm and burnout where they
Mhm.
find the self-discipline is just not there. It's lacking. It's a large reason why they come to work with me. It's like, I don't know
Mhm.
why I can't do this. I used to be able to. What are you noticing on sort of a societal level of people when it comes to self-discipline and some of the challenges they're facing now versus in times in their lives where they were very disciplined?
There's a great quote, and as I was prepping for today, and I forgot to go back and get the name of the book with Napoleon Hill, but, Napoleon Hill wrote up Holding Up, Think and Grow Rich. He wrote another book, Outwitting the Devil,
Mhm.
and the devil says that one of the greatest things he's able to capitalize with inside of the human is wandering. We love to wander. We have way too many things on our plate. We love to try to do everything. we lack focus. And the real piece here in Think and Grow Rich is we've got to focus. We've got to have it to where it's got to be almost like a burning obsession. It's just a fire in our belly. We got to get there. And I think to where you're going is at some point as you're working along and you're not seeing that gratification, you start to lose that obsession, that desire to get there. And then thus it's hard to stay disciplined to continue to achieve.
You're right. It isn't time in our life. Whatever it is that you used to be training for, preparing for, or doing, you probably were very passionate about it, whether it
Mhm,
be for the thing that you were doing or getting to the end goal. And then now in your life, maybe it's kind of a lack of passion, a lack of
mhm,
excitement over it. Or you said it, we're juggling too many things. I always love to use the
mhm,
juggling glass balls and rubber balls exercise. But like if we're juggling too many things, then where can you find your passion? Because you can't really have passion in all of those things. There's a point where like our battery
mhm,
gets depleted. Okay.
mhm,
Give us secret number 1 to having self-discipline. We're craving it, Don. We want it back. We
mhm.
used to have it. We need to get back there. What's the first secret?
I think it is what we just talked about. It's that strong desire. Sometimes you got to weed through all of those different things and say, what is that piece that really drives me? I think back to 2009 when I was retiring out of the military. I had the opportunity to get into, because I'm a civil and environmental engineer. I had the opportunity to go do design for building construction, design for wastewater treatment. I could do construction. I could have done the facility maintenance piece, worrying about the toilets and the lights and the heat and all those things. And I know a number of my friends who did all of those things, but that wasn't me. I could have made more money doing that. I probably could have had a higher position in a company, maybe a vice president, but I wasn't worried about the vice president, the title. I was wanting to focus on the impact. And since the fifth grade, the first Earth Day in 1970, I knew I wanted to work in environmental. And as I was getting out of the service and I was going through all of those things I wanted to do, that's what came back up. I want to get back to environmental. I want to make an impact. I called it Clean America's Waters, right? Keep the pollution from getting into the streams and the groundwater. And once it's there, clean it up, past sins, right? So it's being real clear on what it is you want to do and separate all that, separate the wheat from the chaff, so to speak, right? But
Yeah.
that's hard today with all the distractions and we feel like we've got to be on every email, right? It's funny how in work, people want to be in every meeting because they have the fear of missing out, but then they complain they're in too many meetings. Hello, McFly, right? So at some point, you got to step away. So that fear is a big thing, but the number one piece has got to be getting that clear focus on what you want to achieve and by when. It's kind of a smart goal, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
So let's dive a little bit deeper into that one tool then. Let's say we're in the weeds and it's hard to really see. What are some things that you walk people through in order to really maybe touch base back with their values, what matters, so that they can go, okay, oh, right, that is that thing I used to love and I still
Mhm.
do.
I think it is. I mean, we were talking before we jumped on, the difference between a counselor and a coach and a mentor, right? And you probably want to have all of those in a therapist. You want to have all of those different people in your life. But as a coach, what I try to do is reach back into their past and not just what skills they have, what are their strengths and their weaknesses, but what is it that really moves them? Look into their experiences. And I usually find when I'm going through those experiences, something that lights them up. All of a sudden in the conversation, they're energized and they're talking and their eyes light up. It's like, did you see that? Right? Because if I'm just for me, if I'm talking construction, I'm probably pretty my shoulders are down, I'm kind of monotone. There's not a lot of energy in me. You start talking about doing groundwater cleanup and I sit up straight. My eyes, I'm probably leaning into the conversation. That's what I'm looking for is that energy that pops out. And then get them to recognize that.
So there's a benefit then to working with someone or talking, just even if you're bouncing ideas off someone, to get through. Often we think we got to figure it out for ourselves,
Mhm,
but to get through all of the and I don't enjoy this and I don't like that. But to
Mhm.
hit the things you do like and have someone point them
Mhm.
out, it benefits to talk to someone then. And to
Exactly
have
does.
them ask questions that pull that out. I know I have the fun of asking my clients, "What
Mhm.
were the things you enjoyed doing as a kid?" Like playful
Mhm.
things.
Mhm.
And they're like, "Oh, jumping on the trampoline or swinging or whatever." And I'm like, "Good. That's your homework this week."
That's
And they
right.
look at me like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we gotta get back in touch with fun
Mhm.
again, because that's where the passion lies." So, I love that you go in
Mhm.
the back. Let's go back and look at the past. And where's that the thing that lights you up now as you talk about it? Absolutely. I love
Mhm.
that, Don. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. It's funny how people will resist getting a coach because they feel there's a negative connotation. They're right. I need somebody to help me. I fear, be having a therapist or a counselor. There's the negative,
Yeah.
what's the right word? Negative feeling about it, right? In
Yeah.
the military, you never wanted to go to mental health
Right.
because, for an EOD guy who was on PRP, personal reliability program, which is a special category when you're dealing with nuclear weapons, you could get taken down off of PRP, and thus now you can't do your job. And if you're in a 13-person flight with EOD, that means everybody else has to pick up the load, and you don't feel like you're adequately carrying your load, your weight in the office. So you will suffer through things, whether it's drinking or marriage problems or financials or whatever, and you won't seek help, which is actually the worst thing you could do, right? You
Absolutely.
got to get help. You got that's the way. There was a four-star general recently who posted on LinkedIn a picture of his daily calendar, and he said, I have a mental health appointment at 2 o'clock, and I've been struggling with this. And I just want the community to know that here I am, a four-star general, and I'm struggling with things, and I know you are too. I'm willing to get help. Are you?
Mm.
It's like, leadership by example, right? So I think there's so much power, and I love the power of the question. And it doesn't just work in the conversation, it works on you in between sessions. If you get the right question and if you get the right individual who's trying to really figure it out, you'll keep coming back to that question. You might wake up in the middle of the night and all of a sudden it's like, that's wow.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you write that down, you go back to it the next day. So the power of a question.
Yes, absolutely. So your first secret is really about finding what excites you. What's that passion?
Mhm.
What's that thing that's going to wake you up in the morning and get
Mhm.
you out of bed excited? Because that's
Yes.
where the self discipline is going to come in. What is
Mhm.
secret number two?
The written plan. How am I gonna get there, right? So if my I'll just pick one for me, my physical desire is a body where I can get down and play with the grandkids on the floor and enjoy it, right? I don't wanna be that grandpa who sits on the couch and his knees hurt too bad to get on the floor. I'm too fat to be able to bend over to talk to the kids. I can't pick them up. That's not what I want, right? So now I've got that desire. What's my plan? Well, my plan has to take several things into account. One, the weight, right? Two, my diet. So I still have, here it has been 14 years since I've gotten out of the military. 5 days a week, I get up at 4:50 in the morning and I go to the gym and I work out for an hour, hour and a half. I've now just incorporated muscle, more weightlifting. I grabbed a muscle booster app. So I'm developing the muscles, shoulders, midsection, legs, as well as the aerobics to burn calories. But then I'm also watching my diet. I'm using the Fitbit app on the phone and tracking everything I eat to keep under that and manage my weight so I can keep that. And now I'm also, because I'm 64, I do have knee problems. I have one knee replaced and the other one needs to be replaced. So I have to get 10,000 steps a day. So I'm constantly, in fact, I have a goal every month for 10,000 steps a day. So this month, January, will be 310,000 steps. As of this morning, I'm about 5,000 steps behind because the mountain cedar in Texas caught me yesterday, and I just felt terrible. So I just stayed inside and didn't go to the gym and had trouble sleeping. So again, giving yourself some grace at some point, right? I can catch up. I know in the next 10 days I can catch up 5,000 steps without any problem. But having a plan.
So that written plan and really in detail, it sounds like. But on top of that, giving yourself grace when it doesn't work out, when you have that day or days, right? If you get
Mhm.
hit with a certain sickness or just life,
Mhm.
there are going to be days and how that doesn't mean you're back at ground zero,
Mhm.
that it's, change and progression is, I always think of it like a spiral going upwards, right? We always go back a little
Mhm.
bit and back up and then backwards and then upwards again. And so we need to give ourselves grace in those moments. However, high achievers, ambitious, goal driven people tend to beat themselves up to a level where
Mhm.
it kills the self discipline. What are some tools for that mental resilience in those times that we can develop?
Ooh, that's a real good question. I love tough questions. What are some tools? I think it's recognizing why we're having that resistance, right? There's 8 types of fear, and the fear of missing out, the fear of failure, the fear of success. There's so many different things in there that hold us back, and you can see people. I remember when I was working on an Department of Energy project, and the CEO of the company caught the flu. Flu was running around. It was February. It always runs around in February, right? So he caught it. Well, he kept coming to work, and he would be in his office having staff meetings, and he'd be hacking and sniffing and blowing his nose, and everybody's like, "Would you just go home?" But it was like there was a fear inside of him that he couldn't step away because he's the only person who could do this work. And he had vice presidents and executive vice presidents from Lockheed Martin and Bechtel. These are huge companies. These guys are well-established leaders who could have picked up at any moment, and he could have gone and take care of himself for a couple days, but he wouldn't. I think it was that there was a fear there.
Yeah.
Maybe it was fear for his job. I don't know. We were struggling in the contract, but there's so many pieces, and you have to figure out what that is to be able to overcome it. Otherwise, you're just gonna keep driving and driving, and pretty soon you drive yourself to exhaustion. And that goes back to what you said early on, right? If all of a sudden you feel that burnout, right? Somebody described to me lately, burnout is nothing more than a schedule mismanaged.
Mm, truth.
Yeah.
I would say a schedule mismanaged and a whole bunch of belief systems
Yeah,
of
that's
that
right.
nature.
Mhm.
Excellent. Okay. And
So
what is
what do you think is another way to get out of what you just talked about
oh,
when you're
good
over
question.
Yeah.
A big piece that I work with my clients and myself on is really what would you say to the child version of yourself?
Mm.
In those situations, how do we start to speak to ourselves with that grace and that compassion that we do to children? And that's just my mom's side coming out. I always go back to when I look at them, I know that I'm there too, right? I have that little kid inside of me too that needs the same nurturance and compassion and love. And when I'm really critical and like, why did you do this on myself? It's not the way I would speak to them. And so often I try to get back into that place of I am worthy of the same compassion and love that I speak to my children or to my partner,
Mhm.
and I need to speak that way. Like some people say how you talk to a friend, right? You would encourage
Mhm.
them through something. You would give them options. You wouldn't tell them you failed and you suck and why are you doing this and you should just stop and be like, "No. Okay,
Mhm.
today was a bad day. Go back to bed. Wake up, restart." And so
Mhm.
speaking to ourselves in that way, that I think that's one of the greatest tools that I've really developed in myself and I encourage my clients to. Thank you for
Yeah.
reflecting the
Yeah.
question on me. No one ever does. That's
Oh, is
good.
that right? No, I love the conversation, and that's why there is no one solution sometimes to discipline. Because we said a second ago, having a plan and having a detailed plan. Well, that works in the DISC assessment if I'm a C and I'm highly into details, right? But if I'm an I, an influencer, details drive me crazy. I may create a to-do list, but I never follow it. I love random acts, and I'll be all over the place all day. I still may get it all done, but I may do 5 or 10 minutes here, 5 or 10 minutes there. I'm not sitting down for 1 hour and knocking it out. And you have to understand yourself and how you process. As a coach, we need to understand our client before we ever give them a recommendation. So so there is no sometimes one solution. It may be a solution for me, but we have to find the solution for them,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. And that is a
Mhm.
great, I guess, some feedback for those of you listening that if you are looking for a coach or a guide or a counselor, a mentor, make sure that they're tailoring the work to you and not their expertise and what they think it should be.
Mhm.
Really, they need to be listening in and whether they
Mhm.
use things like the DISC or MBTI or whatever they
Mhm.
use to better understand you, but also just their skill set. Hopefully, they have that
Mhm.
intuitive nature to go, I've heard you use a lot of feeling words. We should probably do something in that realm. Or a lot of thinking words. Let's do some things in that realm. That's really
Perfect thoughts.
important. That's
Yeah.
really important.
Yeah.
Well, Don,
And
because
probably
we're gonna get
probably a
to the third secret of
okay.
self-discipline, okay? So
All right.
tell us, what's our last secret to being more self-disciplined?
Accountability. There is nothing like accountability. We think we can hold ourselves accountable, but we will give ourselves sometimes too much grace. Oh, I wake up at 6:30 in the morning. I don't feel like going to the gym today. I'll do it this afternoon. Then the afternoon doesn't come. I'll do it tomorrow. And pretty soon procrastination hits in and we're not getting there. But I have a accountability group, two other John Maxwell team members, and we meet every Tuesday. The first week of the month, we establish what we're going to do for the month, and we're measuring ourselves all along the path. And then at the end of next week, which is the end of January, we're going to report in. How did we do for the month? Right. And nothing should be a surprise. And we're helping each other and coaching each other. And we each put $50 on the line per person. So if I fail, I owe $100, $50 to each of them. It's amazing how money on the line will make a difference. All of a sudden, 10 o'clock at night, I was like, I didn't get that done today. I don't want to pay $100. So I'm up, reading 10 pages or whatnot. So accountability and structuring it in a way that holds you accountable. I find sometimes I get into an accountability group and it becomes a chat session. And I'm not in accountability for a chat session. I'm in accountability for here's my objectives. Here's how I'm doing. Here's where I'm struggling. I need some help. Now let's move forward. I want to be held accountable. I'm not looking for a friend. I'm looking for an accountability partner.
I am always baffled, Don, when people don't think they need accountability or an accountability
Mhm,
partner in their lives, because I remind them our whole lives we've been conditioned with accountability partners. Our
mhm.
parents, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do this? Our teachers, turn
Our
this in.
teachers.
Did you do this? We've got the bells on at school. It's time to go to the next class. Like
Mhm,
all along the way, we've had the
mhm,
equivalent of an alarm on our phone or a sticky note, right? All along the
mhm,
way. And then we get to a certain point where we're like, no, I can do it on my own. And I
mhm,
think the easiest way is the way you've already been conditioned to do it and actually works, right? Like you get it
mhm,
done. You do the thing because the the school bell bings. Okay, it's time for me to change classes. Okay, well,
mhm,
let me set alarms because that will help me. Ding, next thing.
mhm,
Or meeting with people and having them go, "Have you done this?" And you're so right. Accountability groups are not about, "Let's catch up and chat."
mhm,
And I have had struggles with that too with accountability partners where it's like, "No, I need us to, like, zone in and, like, what is the thing we're getting to? Because that's what I need
mhm,
it for. If I want friendship, I will go chat with them." But
mhm,
accountability is really getting to the, "Here are my goals. Here's how I'm achieving them." And then checking in, "Are you?" And I love the fact you put the $50 down. I think that's just
mhm.
genius. I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's smart." That really will drive people, that's for sure.
Now, when you hit people in the pocketbook, it makes a big difference. It's interesting how many people, when they get out of the military service, because they've had to, you know, hair a certain length, no beard, right? Mustache a certain size. How many get within months this beard that's like a foot long, hair running down with a ponytail? And I just look at them. It's like, and I'm not trying to criticize. It's more of a, you really never accepted that accountability in the service. It never became a part of you. What's driving you to do what and they just say, "Well, I now have the option. I have the freedom." Yeah, you do. Look at yourself.
And
Is
they
that
always had
is
the freedom, but there would be consequences, right?
right.
They
Yeah.
always had the choice.
You
There would
coulda
be
got out, right?
consequences. Yeah. I
Yeah.
grew up with a
So
military dad, so anybody listening, this is why he's speaking a language I understand. I
yeah.
get it.
Yep. So accountability is important. I think the 3 of those together, right? Really knowing what you want, having a plan to get there, and being accountable to achieving that is so important. And don't be surprised. There was a quote recently, and I'll try to keep this short. Morgan Freeman in a movie, and I don't know what movie it is, but he's sitting with a young lady at a table. He's a waiter, and he sits down to her and he starts talking, and she's struggling. He says basically, when you ask God for patience, does He automatically make you patient, or does He give you opportunities to learn and develop patience? When I want to be focused, does He just boom make me focused, or does He give me opportunities to be focused? And we will continue. And the harder we push to get focused, the more things will distract us. And that burning obsession will get us upset of, would you guys just stop sending me those emails, those LinkedIn connections asking me to buy your marketing system, whatever it is? There'll be more and more opportunities. And we have to decide inside of ourselves, when I get that, I push delete and it's gone and I move back to my work. And it's got to be a thought in our head, a habit that we develop when those things pop in.
A
And
lot of
I
people
watch,
say, like, "I feel like I'm being tested." I'm like, "No, you're building the muscle. You asked
yeah,
for it, you're building the
mhm,
muscle." Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you avoid distraction?
For me, a big way I'd avoid distraction, I'm an I. So what you were talking about, like,
Mm,
10 minutes here and 10 minutes here, but it does always get done. I have a written list and I
mm,
love marking things off. I will put stuff in my phone, but I have it written down and it is just a joy to be like done, done,
there you
done.
go.
And I really have trained myself to enjoy that high, even small things. And I am
Mhm,
notorious as well for writing stuff down I already did so I can check that
mhm.
off to feel that like, yes, accomplishment, right? The small
Yeah.
things as like micro steps. But that for me is a large piece of accountability is I do have accountability partner every Monday. We
There
talk
you go.
for this call. So having that and then having things written down and loving checking them off. That is a driver. A large accountability for me as well is if I want to get work done, I only have a certain amount of hours during the day because
Mm,
afternoon I'm full-time stay-at-home mom. So I've got mornings and then a couple nights. And if I don't get it done, I have piled more stuff up on myself the days following. And that just doesn't feel good. And I really part of my own self-compassion journey is
mhm,
don't do that to yourself.
mhm,
Love yourself enough not to like, "Oh, it's okay. I'll just, like, throw out this whole morning and go do something silly that doesn't
mhm.
support my business moving forward." And then for the next 7 days suffer because of that. Like, "No, no, no. That those games are done. I'm over that." I really focus because of my time. What I
Yeah.
don't have as much time as many people to work.
Yeah. And I think that's what's caused a lot of the mental health issues per a lot of the research over the last couple of years is because we've been remote and hybrid. There is no end to the duty day, right?
Right.
So I can go back to the office at night. I can work on weekends. Where when you went to the office, it was 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And that's when I did it. And there's got to be that discipline again. I'm trying as I go down for dinner at 5:30, 6 o'clock, not to come back upstairs. Though I am on my phone doing Facebook and so LinkedIn, and my wife reminds me of that every day. So, but trying to be careful of some of those, letting the time bleed in and me during the day pushing, "Oh, I'll do that tonight." And then tonight's like, "No, this is my family time." So having that
Right.
discipline.
Absolutely. Yes.
Mhm.
I find I don't need to be disciplined. I just have 3 little ones who are like, "Mom, get off your phone. Mom, focus on this. Mom." And I'm like, "Oh god, never mind."
Accountability partners.
Like, why even try? Why even try? The phone is
That's right.
down. I'm present. So,
Mhm,
Don, thank you so, so much for your wisdom today, for teaching us these 3 secrets and getting us back on track on,
mhm,
these they feel simple, they're challenging to put in place, but once you get back in the rhythm, it is that
mhm,
muscle that you're rebuilding and there's muscle memory to self-discipline. I truly believe it. So, soon as you
mhm,
get back on the saddle and going forward, you're going to
mhm,
find that that self-discipline sets back in place. And as you said, you start to just remove all the stuff around you that is keeping you from having that
mhm.
discipline. And you better understand that the challenges you're facing are to help strengthen your muscle for it.
That's
So,
right. That's right.
Don, if someone wants to connect with you, where can they find you?
So I have a web page, achievenewheights.com, though I'm revamping it right now. So the best way is through LinkedIn, Don, the middle initial L, Leonard, and Gleason, Gleason, Don L. Gleason. And send me a note and say, hey, you met me here on this podcast and would love to talk a little bit more about discipline, or hey, I want to talk about coaching, or, and I'd love to have a conversation with you. And, no charge. Just, some people always ask me the question, are you going to charge me for that? No, no. Let's just have a conversation. Let's get to know each other and how I can help you. I love serving and we'll go from there.
Well, love that, Don. I will make sure all links are in the show notes so you can find that as well. Again, Don, thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day. And dear listener, here's to finding our balance code. Thank you again for listening to today's episode. As one of my listeners, I have a special gift for you. Do you ever feel like you're simultaneously doing way too much while also not feeling like you're doing enough? I have a workbook that's going to help you solve that problem and get to the root of what actually needs to be done and what matters to you most based on your values. Check out my Juggling All the Things workbook below in the show notes so that you can use this special gift to simplify your life. We all need that. And if you're interested in working with me, check in the show notes below on information on how to do so. Here's to finding our balance code.